Hello, my friend. If you clicked on this video, most likely you've seen some of my posts on Instagram and you've requested my free guide on how to break out of your head and talk to women. My name is Timothy Dating and I help men in their 30s into their 50s to level up their dating life and develop the skills to meet and talk and date women. And then, whatever happens after that exists between two consenting adults. If you are listening to this, you are most likely optimistic about improving your dating life, otherwise you wouldn't have come here, but also frustrated that you are not quite yet getting the results with women that you want. You may have achieved success in other areas of your life. Maybe you own your own home, you have a nice car or a good career, but your dating life is the one thing lagging behind. And this is the thing. It's one thing to be a high-value man on paper, but in this video, I'll share actionable steps that you can use to start becoming that sociable, charismatic, full-stack man that has the confidence to approach any woman he wants that I know you've always wanted to be. But first, let me tell you something. It is possible for any man, if he puts the work in, to meet and date beautiful, attractive women, regardless of his height, his ethnicity, or how much hair he has on his head. Point in question, twice in my life I've seen two different paraplegic men dating gorgeous 9 out of 10 women. Now these men were restricted by their height, frankly put, their looks, and obviously their physical capability. They were both wheelchair bound. But what they did have was unbelievable, unshakable self-belief and confidence. And this to women is the most powerful aphrodisiac on earth. As men, we are actually very lucky. We are not restricted by our looks, our age, or our facial symmetry in the same way that women are. What we are restricted by is our courage and what is perceived by women as our confidence. Both of these are trainable qualities, which is why being a man is actually the greatest gift. And in this training, I'm going to share with you how to take full use of that gift. In this training, I'm going to give you 5 simple steps that you can use to break out of your head and talk to women in real life. So stick around until the last tip, because that is where the real social unlock begins. But first, I want to explain a concept. When you see me talking to girls on Instagram or YouTube, you might think it's easy for this guy. But what you don't know about me is I went through years stuck in my own head, unable to talk to any girl, along with years without physical intimacy from women. And maybe you can relate to that as well. So here is a concept I want you to understand. We live inside something called a social contract. It's not an actual law, but it exists like a law, and it says this: don't talk to strangers. The craziest part, though, is that you are actually allowed to talk to anyone you want. We are completely free and we just don't realize it. Now, logically, watching a video like this, what I said might make sense. But going out there in the real world and talking to the first attractive women you see, even though nothing but your own mind is stopping you, well, we basically have 30 plus years of conditioning telling us that we can't do it, that we shouldn't talk to strangers. One more concept I want you to understand is the concept of our self-esteem. Our self-esteem is built on our self-image. And most of the time, our self-image is built around ideas we have about ourselves that we believe fully. I'm an introvert, or I'm not naturally charismatic, or I'm not good with girls. It's like we've already typecast ourselves as the character in our own lives. Well, what if I told you that life is a bit like going to the movies and you can actually be any character you want? Once you understand that what you think your character is actually just a story you tell to yourself, you are then free to write a different story. That's the good part. The hard part? You have to rewrite the script in real life. And even though the key to success is through a series of small steps, you still have to walk each step. The expression goes, in life, you can't skip steps. Luckily, in this training, I'll be walking with you, so let's go. Now, before we get into these steps, a word of warning. These will sound underwhelming. You might either think, I already know that, or, even worse, I can start anytime. Here's the thing. The brain has a bias to undervalue things that don't sound difficult, thinking anyone could do that. Just in the same way that anyone can do an easy gym workout once, but if you look at the fact that 60% of people in the US, for example, are overweight, clearly most people can't do an easy gym workout 3 to 4 times a week. Secondly, the brain has something called familiarity bias. It tends to undervalue things it might have heard before and say, I've already heard that. So the tips I'm going to share may be simple and easy to discount. You may have even heard them already. But let me tell you this, the brain mistakes information as knowledge. Information is actually just latent data that sits around in your brain gathering dust, whereas knowledge is the opposite. It's something we are actually able to apply. Until something exists through repetition in your actual life, it has not been trained into your nervous system, and therefore you do not know it. So, here is what you're going to do to get out of your head and talk to women in real life. Ready? Days 1 to 3. I want you to go buy your groceries or your coffee, and every time you do, I want you to tell the cashier, have a nice day. Look into his or her eyes. It doesn't matter at this point their gender. Say, have a nice day, and mean it. In this small moment, you are making a connection and breaking out of the mental matrix you have been living in with the smallest possible step. Days 4 to 6. I want you to read their name badge and say, thanks, Steve, or whatever their name badge says when you leave, and then say, have a nice day. Most people don't do this. You've just elevated yourself above most people. Days 7 to 8. This is the next biggest part. And try not to laugh. I want you to compliment a man's trainers. This is easy because A, it's a man, so he can't reject you. And B, you can look down at his trainers as you compliment him, meaning you don't have to make straight eye contact. This makes it slightly easier. Days 8 to 12. This is the biggest part of your training so far. I want you to give one compliment per day to an actual girl. It's very simple. Hey, sorry, this is going to sound a little bit random, but I saw you and I had to say you look really nice. If you can do that, you've already come further than most already. Most men will download this free training, maybe watch half the video and then take zero action. So why not go a little bit further? Days 13 to 14. The next step is to compliment a girl and then tell her what you noticed about her. For example, and you can keep it short. Hey, sorry, this is going to sound a little bit random, but I saw you and I had to say you look nice. By the way, I really like your dress. And then leave. Do this 3 times a day for 2 days. Seems manageable, right? And that's what makes it easy to dismiss, which is why so many guys stay stuck in their lives. If you can do this, you've just completed a 2-week training to break out of your head and talk to women in real life. What you just experienced is something that 99% of dating courses never teach. The art of application. Because information alone does not change a man. Applied action does. And the more advanced version of this system is taking guys like Joel, Steve, and Jay to incredible results in their dating lives. I don't just coach men on social skills. We level you up across 4 main areas: approaching, texting, dating, and presentation. But back to the video. You might still be wondering, is that it? You might still be looking for the secret, the magic line, the golden piece of information that changes everything overnight. And maybe I'll never be the world's best marketer because I'm not trying to sell you bullshit. I'm here to tell you what actually works. And what actually works is training. Because when you complete these 2 weeks, you will already have skills that surpass most men who've been consuming dating content for years. Why? Because while they were endlessly watching videos and searching for secrets, you trained the art of saying hello. You trained eye contact, and you trained social freedom. But that's not actually the biggest thing that changes. The biggest thing that changes is that you stop seeing yourself as the guy who can't. You stop being trapped by invisible rules that you created in your own mind, and you realize that confidence is not something that people are born with. It's earned through action. And once a man understands that, his whole life changes. Because now you're no longer the guy trapped in his own head. You're now ready to have real conversations with women. Once you can have real conversations, getting numbers becomes natural, dating becomes natural, and then connection becomes natural. That's how confidence is actually built. Not motivation, not affirmations, through action. And this is why the men who take this seriously completely transform their dating lives. Consistent persistence in this area will transform you from the guy who is clueless into the guy people come to looking for clues. How do I know? Because I was once clueless. And now you're watching my video looking for answers. But what I shared with you today wasn't a clue. It was a straightforward blueprint you can actually execute. Not motivation, theory, not hype, but action. And if you apply it consistently, your entire dating life can change. But not only that, the same courage that lets you approach a beautiful woman is the same courage that lets you start the business, move country, make new friends, and become the man you were supposed to build along. Now, if you want to go deeper with this and accelerate this process, I'm offering 15 to 20 minute coffee chats for guys that genuinely want to level up their dating lives. And just so we're completely clear, this is not a sales call. The purpose of the call is simply to help you identify your current bottlenecks, where you're stuck, and what your next step should realistically be. And then if it genuinely feels like working together would help you, I can invite you onto a separate call where we can talk about working together further. So if you want to book that chat and identify your current bottlenecks, you will come away from the call knowing exactly what you need to work on to level up in this area of your life. Then you can click the link below this video and I'll see you on the other side.